Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. The White House condemning political violence stemming from what it calls a systemic demonization of President Trump. It also announces a meeting among senior officials to review security protocols. More on the aftermath of a third assassination attempt against the president. Lawmakers condemning political violence after the shooting at the Correspondents' Dinner as concerns grow over online radicalization and security risks. What leaders are now calling for. The Supreme Court allowing Texas to redraw its congressional districts. The High Court's decision comes ahead of November's midterm elections. President Trump says Iran can call the United States to end the war, but only if it gives up nuclear weapons. Why talks remain stalled and how the U.S. is tightening pressure at sea. A major case at the Supreme Court could redefine digital privacy in America. Justices weighing whether police can use location data from your phone without a warrant and what it means for future investigations. A deadly U.S. military strike in the Eastern Pacific targeting a suspected drug smuggling vessel. 3 killed as part of an expanded crackdown on cartel-linked trafficking at sea.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon and thank you for joining us. The White House condemning political violence stemming from what it calls a systemic demonization of President Trump. It also announces a meeting to review security measures ahead of other high-profile events. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent, Iris Tao. Iris, good afternoon. What is the latest?
Good afternoon to you as well, John. So the White House today is calling the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner last weekend a third major assassination attempt on President Trump's life. The press secretary this afternoon saying that no other president in history has faced such a repeated serious attempts on his life. And she also condemns the political violence, which she says stems from a systematic demonization of President Trump in both the media as well as among some politicians. Watch.
This political violence stems from a systemic demonization of him and his supporters by commentators, yes, by elected members of the Democrat Party, and even some in the media. This hateful and constant and violent rhetoric directed at President Trump day after day after day for 11 years has helped to legitimize this violence and bring us to this dark moment. Those who constantly falsely label and slander the president as a fascist, as a threat to democracy, and compare him to Hitler to score political points are fueling this kind of violence.
Investigations are ongoing, looking into what specifically motivated this shooter and suspect at Saturday's dinner. And meanwhile, President Trump has said that this suspect was radicalized. The White House, meanwhile, saying that the rhetoric used in the suspect's reported manifesto is shockingly similar to what some Americans read every day in social media as well as online forums. And the White House also pointing to a specific example, which is ABC's Jimmy Kimmel saying just 2 days prior to the shooting event over the weekend, calling First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. And now both President Trump as well as the First Lady are calling for Kimmel to be fired by ABC, with President Trump posting on Truth Social today saying, quote, "I appreciate that so many people are incensed by Kimmel's despicable call to violence, and this is something far beyond the pale." Don.
And Iris, also, what is the White House saying about security measures?
Right. So there are a lot of people talking about, as well as expressing concerns about the fact that the shooter was able to get so close to the main ballroom where high-level cabinet officials, as well as the president and first lady and vice president, were all sitting at. Meanwhile, the White House saying today that there will be a meeting early this week convened by White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, as well as top DHS leaders and members of the U.S. Secret Service and their own operations teams here at the White House to ensure the safety of the president going forward, especially given the fact that there are many high-level and high-stakes events coming up here in D.C. featuring administration officials. And meanwhile, President Trump, she says, still continues to have faith in the U.S. Secret Service, and also noting how they were able to stop the shooter at the security perimeter as he was charging inside, and they were able to quickly neutralize the suspect. And the press secretary today also thanking the law enforcement officials who really helped to control the situation and the agents on the site. She also used it as an occasion to really call for Democrats to make sure that DHS is funded, saying that any obstruction when it comes to law enforcement could risk more lives being lost. Watch.
One agent can be seen in video footage literally jumping onto the stage, not knowing where the attacker was or where the bullets were coming from at that point, to place his body in front of the President of the United States. These men and women are heroes. They perform their duties daily, and they have children and families too. And they do it despite the political turmoil surrounding their agency. Make no mistake, this defunding of DHS should be a national scandal.
Meanwhile, despite the chaos at the dinner Saturday evening, which a lot of us reporters in the room also witnessed, the White House press secretary really highlighted how the president was able to stay calm. And she says he really wanted to get back on stage to continue the dinner, which is another thing that we witnessed firsthand. I personally saw the servers trying to put the napkins and glasses back on, as well as staffers readjusting the teleprompter, as well as the presidential podium, just for the president potentially to be able to come back. While that did not eventually happen due to security protocol, the White House press secretary today using that to highlight that the president is able to stay very composed in such situations, which she hopes give the country some hope about a direction forward. Watch.
And as I witnessed on Saturday night, just his dogged resolve and determination to get back onto the stage, and he was pushing Secret Service and law enforcement to allow him to address. And that really, I think, hopefully gives the country the type of strength that we need.
Meanwhile, it's also notable the fact that Caroline Leavitt is back at the podium today to address press, given the fact that she is 39-week pregnant. And last Friday, she told us at the White House that it would be her last last opportunity to take questions from us. But today she's back in the briefing room, and she says that is because she feels obligated and honored to be in this role, adding that she feels prudent to be here today to answer questions and inform the American public about how the administration is responding to yet another assassination attempt on President Trump's life. Back to you.
All right, Iris, appreciate it. Lawmakers once again condemning political violence following the shooting at the White House Correspondents Association dinner. House Speaker Mike Johnson reflecting on past assassination attempts on the president, including he is at his strongest in times of crisis. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has the details.
Lawmakers are considering ways to turn the temperature down following the weekend shooting at the Hilton.
We need a bipartisan national commission for political violence in this country. I heard
the Saturday shooting Congressman Andy Biggs described as another reminder that evil exists and that those who carry out its schemes seek to wreak chaos within our constitutional republic. Several lawmakers turned their attention to social media, where they say people are easily radicalized.
There's a whole hate industry online, obviously, that has total immunity, under laws that were written in the 90s. That could be dealt with. We could pass, obviously, different, gun.
I think the amplifier and the instigator of social media is able to really target vulnerable people. In many cases,
lawmakers once again calling for Americans to protest peacefully and use discourse. Congressman Michael McCaul calls on the Secret Service to reconsider allowing both the president and vice president to attend events together.
The line of secession. You had the president and the vice president at the head table, both of them together, and the Speaker of the House. Had an explosive device gone off, you would have knocked out the president, vice president, speaker, the three in line of secession.
House Speaker Mike Johnson wrote a lengthy post saying that the third assassination attempt on the president has revealed that he is strongest in times of crisis and turmoil. Reflecting on the last assassination attempt targeting President Trump in September, Johnson said he witnessed the president have a new realization of the divinely orchestrated responsibility he was being given to serve as the 47th president of the United States. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Cole Thomas Allen, the suspect in the shooting incident at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, is expected to be arraigned in federal court today. Joining us now to discuss is Dean Golemis, former police detective and president and owner of Global Security and Investigative Services. Dean, good afternoon to you. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on the level of security at this event. You know, I was just talking to our reporter who was there actually at the dinner, Iris Tao, White House correspondent, and she was telling me, you know, there were no metal detectors, no pat-downs, and they didn't even check your bags until you got about a yard from the ballroom door. And apparently the ticket as well, it looks very similar to last year's ticket, almost the same. So, you know, potentially someone who's not supposed to be at the dinner could have gotten in if they had a ticket from last year. So what is your reaction to all this?
Well, thanks for having me, Don. There were definitely some failures. Hindsight is always 20/20, right? It's easy to Monday morning quarterback the Secret Service, but let's just first and foremost, their protective envelope worked, right? It functioned as it should. The gunman did not get into the ballroom. The gunman was stopped. Unfortunately, a Secret Service agent was shot. Thank God he's going to be okay. Yeah, I see some shortfalls with the security for the event. The biggest shortfall that I see from what I'm learning about the event is there was a complete lack of security for guests checking in, which we now know that Cole Allen was a guest of the hotel. How did he check in with a long gun? You know, there should have been some kind of metal detecting of guests' luggage as they checked into the hotel in the days prior to this event. I read another account where a guest was able to go up and down between the floors and the hall with very little oversight, just flashing a ticket. And like you said, the ticket was the same from last year, basically. So these are things that are going to be reviewed, and these are things that are going to be corrected. I believe turnstiles should have been used also, which would have slowed this type of attack, where, you know, by the time he rounded that corner in the hallway, as we can see in the video, he's running at full speed. The guards, you know, the Secret Service and the police in the lobby have their, you know, they're kind of relaxed at this point. The main rush of guests have ended. They're all in the ballroom. These guys are taking a little bit of a breather here, and they weren't on point. They weren't on their game. They didn't recognize that man until he was, you know, feet away from him at full charge with a shotgun in his hands. You know, there should have been a more layered approach. Maybe they should have had additional resources at the ends of the hallways. And again, it's always, hindsight's always 20/20. I think the important thing is their security envelope functioned as it should. The gunman was stopped and no one was seriously injured. But this is the third attempt on the president's life. And I think we really need to take a good hard look at how these future events are conducted, unfortunately.
Do you think, you know, President Trump did say that Secret Service in the end, they performed exactly as they're supposed to. But, you know, some lawmakers are taking this opportunity to, again, highlight the urgency on ending the partial DHS shutdown. Do you think that's important in the context of what's happening right now?
100%. This agency needs to be fully funded and enhanced. 3 attempts, never in history has that happened to a single president. But again, I believe Secret Service functioned as they should have. Once the breach happened, they went into emergency mode. They got the president evacuated. They stopped the gunman. They acted exactly as they should have after the incident was initiated. I believe where they need to look and where the management of Secret Service and DHS needs to look at the preparation of the event. That's where I believe there were some shortfalls. These men and women did a great job. You saw one Secret Service agent jump on the stage and shield the president with his own body. You know, that man has a family. He was willing to risk his life, and that's commendable. I think the advance was not done properly, and there should have been more forethought to screening guests, checking into the hotel. Maybe they would have caught this gunman trying to get into a room with a long gun, and this whole thing could have been avoided. So they did a great admirable job once the event started to unfold, and they could have done a little more thorough job perhaps in the preparation of the event.
Right. I mean, at this point, there's no argument that once the intruder was detected, the response from the Secret Service was excellent. And I think that's a consensus right now. And the dinner is going to be rescheduled. So, and you said you saw some shortcomings. So what needs to be different next time?
Well, I think the agents stationed need to be maybe managed a little bit better, where they should be on point at all times. If you look at that video, they're relaxing. And I've done these kind of events before, and it's understandable. It's human nature. But you need to have another layer of, another perimeter of security down at the end of that hallway, maybe. I'm sure the gunman, we're going to find out, was standing right around that corner, psyching himself up to make his final charge. If we could have had people positioned in other hallways, they could have grabbed him before he breached the lobby. That's one thing. They could do that also with turnstiles. You know, have everybody come through a turnstile. While they're coming through a turnstile, they go through a metal detector, a turnstile, and it will stop somebody from just doing a blind charge down the hallway. They're lucky they grabbed him. You know, if he was successful getting through them, maybe if he was a second or two faster on his feet, it could have been a whole different ballgame we were discussing, you know?
Yeah, that is a good point. And I want to mention another point, actually. I was discussing this with our White House correspondent who was at the dinner. And she said, you know, we were talking about this the day after. If the shooter actually didn't charge, it would have been even more dangerous because he charged, he gave himself away. But if he just walked like everybody else, he probably could have even gotten further. And this brings me to the point here. President Trump mentioned needing a secure White House ballroom. Do you think what happened right now further highlights the need for one?
I mean, anybody with, I think, half of a brain in their head could not argue that point, against that point. Absolutely. Having a ballroom under the control of the White House and the White House grounds and all the security they have in place there, it's 100 times more secure. It's needed in this day and age, in this political climate. And I think whoever's against it is just doing it is just standing against it because they don't like the politics of this particular president, because there's no way you could meaningfully argue that it's not needed. No major hotel. It's so hard. And again, we can criticize the Secret Service all we want, but it is so hard to secure a huge hotel like this open to the general public. You know, you could make it Fort Knox and there still would be some kind of shortfall. We were lucky here, I think, that he tried to storm it in an ambush-style attack, in that he revealed himself. Because to your point earlier, the tickets were the same. If he was a little more savvy, he maybe could have just flashed a ticket on some obscure hallway and gotten himself in, and then done his shooting once he was in the ballroom. And that would have been catastrophic, right? So, yeah, you know, I can see how, had he not done an ambush-style attack and tried to be more covert, that would have definitely been a much more different outcome.
Okay, Dean, let me just get one more comment from you. And this relates to what the White House is saying, that the suspect's manifesto had wording or language very similar to what you would hear in media today. What is your response to the idea of radicalization?
You know, politicians, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, are going to say things that they think is going to better their political standing, right? They say things, and they say irresponsible things sometimes. And I'm not saying what side's right and what side's wrong. All I'm saying is both sides need, especially the Democratic, because these shooters have all been from the same ideology. They have to realize when they say things, there are people in this country, unfortunately, that are in a dark place in their life that normal, everyday people can't understand. And they will take the messaging from politicians as a green light to be some kind of national hero and do something crazy like an assassination attempt. And there are people that they listen and they think that they're doing the right thing because they're mentally ill, they're depressed, they're upset. And we've got to dial back our rhetoric because we don't know who's listening, and that's on both sides. You know, we're not enemies. You're a Democrat, you're a Republican, we're all Americans, and I just wish that this kind of talk didn't happen and we wouldn't have to worry about these kind of things happening. And I think it's disgusting that an American president, no matter what his party, there's been 3 attempts on his life. If you don't like this president, there's something called an election. That's how we deal with it. Not an assassination. And that's for any president or any politician. There's ways to get what you want politically, and it's not killing people. It's disgusting.
And it's the argument of the baby Hitler. If you could go back in time and eliminate baby Hitler, you'd be saving millions of people. It's also that kind of argument, and you're comparing President Trump a lot of times to Hitler. Some people will see that, and you know they'll take action. That's how it is apparently. But Dean, appreciate your comments today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Don. I appreciate it.
The Supreme Court takes on geofencing warrants. Can law enforcement track your phone near a crime scene without a probable cause? That case could reshape privacy rights nationwide. We have more news after this break. Stay with us.
Tired of struggling with that heavy leaf blower? Introducing the Bullseye Power Blower. It delivers a massive blowing force, and yet it's so compact and lightweight. Just lock and load the rechargeable battery for long-lasting runtime. The secret is the compact turbocharged motor with jet burst technology that blasts out 21,000 RPMs of airflow. Watch this. The sheer force propels this woman across the pool. Look, use Bullseye to blow up a huge jump house. Now that's power. Even blows snow right off your vehicle in no time. Turbo clean your porch in a flash or tidy up your dirty garage floor in seconds. Get it today for just $99.99. But wait, act now and get a $20 discount. So it's only $79.99. Plus, you'll get the adjustable extension tube, yours free. And it all comes with free shipping. Order now.
Call 1-800-209-2313 or go to bullseyeblower.com. That's 1-800-209-2313 or order online at bullseyeblower.com. Order now.
I trod on my glasses yesterday, and I had to pay up front for a new pair that I can't even pick up for another 10 days. So I looked for another way, and I found Select Specs. I ordered online. My new glasses just arrived this morning, and I can pay over the next few weeks. This is the way to buy glasses.
See now, pay later with Select Specs. Next day delivery and deferred payment options, only at selectspecs.com.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The walls surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this old girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation. But she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
The UK's King Charles III is now on his way to the United States for a state visit after Saturday night's shooting raised security concerns. Buckingham Palace confirmed last night the state visit would go ahead as planned, following discussions on both sides of the Atlantic. The palace said the King and Queen are most grateful to have all those worked at pace, and they're looking forward to the visit. King Charles and Queen Camilla separately contacted the president and the First Lady to express their sympathies about the shooting. The 4-day state visit will kick off today with the president and First Lady having tea in the green room with the royals before going to a tour of the expanded White House beehive in the South Lawn. The palace says the trip is to celebrate historic connections and the modern bilateral relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States, marking the 250th anniversary of American independence. President Trump says Iran can call the United States if it wants to negotiate an end to the war. The president emphasizing that Tehran knows the terms no nuclear weapons. Here's more.
President Trump scrapped a Saturday visit to Pakistan by his envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. The president citing uncertainty about Iran's leadership, which he said was complicating talks. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister landed in Russia today to seek support from President Vladimir Putin. A ceasefire has paused large-scale fighting, but Iran's nuclear ambitions and the control of the Strait of Hormuz remain key points of contention. The U.S. continues enforcing a maritime blockade of Iranian ports, redirecting dozens of vessels.
Oil prices rising today as U.S.-Iran peace talks have stalled. Shipments through the Strait of Hormuz remained restricted, tightening global supply conditions. Brent crude is up to over $108 a barrel. That was the highest level in 3 weeks. U.S. West Texas Intermediate is up over $96 a barrel. Both benchmarks posted strong gains last week, with Brent up nearly 17% and WTI up about 13%. Some banks have raised price forecasts, citing tighter supply and ongoing regional risks. Breaking news. A federal judge has ordered the man accused of attacking Saturday's White House Correspondents' Dinner held behind bars. 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen now faces charges of attempting to assassinate the president, along with firearms offenses. Allen appeared in a Washington, D.C. federal courtroom today wearing a blue prison jumpsuit flanked by U.S. Marshals. Prosecutors want a request to keep him detained temporarily. A hearing on his continued detention is set for Thursday. And the Supreme Court is allowing Texas to implement its mid-decade redistricting of the state's congressional map. The High Court's 6-3 decision reverses a lower court ruling that had blocked the new map. The new ruling follows the Supreme Court's decision in December 2025 that upheld the redrawn election map. The redistricting is expected to increase Republican representation in Texas's House delegation. In February, the Supreme Court allowed California to use a new electoral map designed to give Democrats 5 more congressional seats. Republicans currently hold slim majorities in both chambers of Congress. Midterm elections are slated for November. Meanwhile, Virginia's Supreme Court is hearing arguments over the state's own new congressional map. Voters approving the district redistricting plan last week, which could help Democrats win as many as 4 additional House seats. Meanwhile,
Republicans challenging the maps argue that the Democratic-led General Assembly violated procedural requirements to pass the plan. 2 separate legislative sessions are required to place the amendment on the ballot, one before and another after a state election. The legislature held its first vote last October, while early voting was underway, but before the day of the general election. Virginia's Supreme Court will determine whether that was too late because early voting had already begun. The Virginia case marks the latest dispute in a national redistricting battle between Republicans and Democrats seeking an advantage in November's midterm elections. 6 Democrats and 5 Republicans currently represent Virginia in the House of Representatives.
And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has included a congressional redistricting plan in a special session of the Republican-controlled legislature. The plan could give the GOP 4 additional House seats. DeSantis told Fox News that Florida was, quote, shortchanged in the 2020 census. The Republican governor said the Sunshine State's population has shifted since then from a Democrat to a Republican majority. Republicans currently occupy 20 of Florida's 28 seats in the House of Representatives. The special session is scheduled to begin tomorrow. The Supreme Court is hearing arguments today in a major case that could reshape digital privacy and law enforcement practices. At issue is the use of geofencing warrants. Those are court-approved requests for cell phone location data near a crime scene. In 2019, investigators obtained anonymous data from Google within 150 meters of a bank robbery. They later expanded their request to seek identifying information without additional warrants. That data led to the conviction of Okello Chetri. He argues the search violated the Fourth Amendment by collecting information on individuals without probable cause. The government contends the data is not protected because it was voluntarily shared with a third party. Legal experts say the ruling could determine how constitutional protections apply to modern digital tracking and impact future cases nationwide. In a high-stakes case, tech giants Elon Musk and Sam Altman are facing each other today in court. Here's more.
Musk is suing ChatGPT maker OpenAI and its leaders, including CEO Sam Altman. Musk says he was deceived by the executives when OpenAI became a for-profit operation after originally billing itself as a nonprofit mission. The trial comes at a precarious time for OpenAI. The company is on the brink of a massive IPO and faces increased competition among rivals. One of those rivals, Musk's own AI company, xAI. The celebrity surrounding Altman and Musk, two of the richest men in the world, is complicating the task of finding impartial jurors for the trial. The judge today expected to call a much larger than usual pool of potential candidates, about triple what's usually gathered for a civil case.
A months-long measles outbreak in South Carolina is over. State health officials say enough days have elapsed without a new case to declare an end to the emergency. The last confirmed case related to the outbreak was reported on March 15th. The South Carolina Department of Public Health said 42 days was 2 times longer than the incubation period, a clear indication that a transmission chain was broken. To combat the measles outbreak, officials ramped up vaccinations, isolated infected individuals, and traced people who were exposed. Some 997 cases were ultimately linked to the outbreak, which started in mid-2025 in upstate South Carolina. There were more than 2,200 confirmed measles cases in the United States in 2025, the most since 1991. There were 1,700 confirmed cases across dozens of states as of April 23rd. The U.S. steps up its war on cartels at sea. A new strike in the Eastern Pacific leaves 3 dead. How the military is targeting trafficking routes before they reach U.S. shores. More news after this.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritan green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritan green vegetable omega-3. Eat 2 a day and you'll feel brand new.
At Mathis Home, we have your style in stock now during the Spring Style event. Whatever you're looking for, we have what you need for your perfect bedroom. This plush queen upholstered bed is a great example. It's a hot buy at just $5.99. From traditional to modern or anywhere in between, we can help you find the matching pieces and accessories to fit your own personal style, all at great values. Come find the look that's right for you during the Spring Style event at Mathis Home.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. And a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer. And your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did.
Please call or go online to helpheart.org. Become a monthly donor, and for a limited time only, your first month's gift will be matched.
Thank you.
To discuss the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, joining us now is Alvin Louis. He's the president of Courage is a Habit. So, Alvin, good afternoon. Good to see you again. Now, the suspect, Cole Allen, good to see you as always. So, Cole Allen had displayed anti-Christian, anti-Trump viewpoints on social media. He attended at least one No Kings protest in California. I'm just wondering, is there an argument to be made that the action of the suspected shooter was a product of an environment of rhetoric and activism, you know, radicalization?
Oh, it's 100% a product. It's not just a product, it's an intended product. There's a study that just came out that showed that the more education you get in terms of if you go higher into the academia, you become more likely to be violent politically. Because the education system from kindergarten all the way through college is one scaffolding system that trains children and then young adults to be anti-American, anti-white activists. And so from kindergarten on, they teach them about marginalized people and be kind and empathy. And then it moves up from there. By the time they get out of high school, they're ready to march. And if, like this guy here, he went through college, and it doesn't even matter what degree, because he was in the engineering degree, like in that STEM and that type of world. But it doesn't matter what degree, because before parents would think, well, if my child went to this degree, it's not the social science that has a lot of indoctrination. It doesn't matter, because all the colleges are Marxist indoctrination center. So not only is he a product, he is the intended product. And in your K through 12 schools today, they want to create more Cole Allens. They want to create more Renee Goods out of your daughters, because they want the violence, and they're teaching your children through mental health, through social emotional learning, all these different ideology that makes them angry, it makes them violent, and all it takes is just one moment for them to act out on their training.
Okay, but the question I want to ask you is, how does this ideology, this education, convince someone that killing another person, this is another level, is okay?
Mm-hmm. Well, they use really soft words in the beginning of the education. They talk about be kind, anti-bullying. And then they start ramping up things like words are violence. They're trying to erase trans people. They're trying to erase black people. They're trying to erase anybody that's not white. Trump's a Nazi. Republicans are Nazis. So if you as a man, if you as a person, Dawn, if someone's telling you outside your home every night, there's someone trying to erase your family. They're trying to erase you because you're not white. They're trying to erase you because you're a journalist. If someone keeps telling you this for years and years and years on end, when you see that person come up to your house, even if that person means you no harm, you're going to react violently because you've been told for years that they want to harm you and your family. Now you're a grown man. Now imagine if you're telling a child this from kindergarten, first grade, second grade onward, and then of course now you get it in school, and then you get it in the legacy media, and they're saying Trump and Republicans and white people, anybody who supports Christian values, are out to erase everyone. That's why they use those words, erasing, genocide, Nazis. And so when you do that, it's very easy to get someone to be violent, especially because the mental health in schools is designed to break a person down. So they're already on drugs, they're already on bipolar drugs, they're on antidepressants, they're on all these drugs. And if they're trans in any way, if they're taking any kind of cross-sex hormones or puberty blockers, it is very easy to get these people who are mentally broken, emotionally already tortured in school, and then physically they're not healthy people. It's very easy to get these people to blame all the people that they want to blame, which is Christians, white people, Republicans, Trump. It's all in the education system. That's all the education system is. It's a activation and training system.
Okay, let me tell you something, Alvin, and you tell me if this exemplifies what you just described right now. So our very own White House correspondent, she was on her way to the briefing. I think it was on Saturday night. And on her way, she overheard teenagers reacting to this news. They were laughing, and they were saying they wish they got him. This is what she heard, our own White House correspondent. So, I mean, you tell me, does this exemplify what you said, you know, this kind of casual dehumanizing from young people?
Oh, it's 100% exactly reflective what I said, because these young people believe that Trump is Hitler. They believe he's all these evil people. Now, the thing about the education system is they actually don't know anything about fascism or communism or anything like that. So if they did, they would know, obviously, Trump is nowhere near that. In fact, he's quite the opposite. It's the Democratic Party that is that way. But they don't know that. So the young people always believe that violence is the answer because they've been taught from a very early on, from elementary and middle school on, that words are violence. So if you say there's no such thing as a trans child, that is justification for violence. If you say, you know what, I don't think racism is a big deal in America, I don't think that's why you don't succeed. If you say, you know what, black people, it's only 13% of the population, but they commit, over 50% of the crime, that's a statistic. But they consider that violence. If you say we should have closed borders, we should not give one single dime to illegal aliens, they should be deported, they consider that violence. So things that were normal things that you would say, 20 years ago, and everyone believed it, everyone knows it, it becomes violence. And you get there by brainwashing children to believe that, which is why Courage is a Habit. We always encourage parents to reject inclusion and embrace exclusion. And every time they tell you you can't say something, that's the thing that you must say, because changing language and manipulating language is how they brainwash children. That is the entry point, is always language.
Okay, so if you say this education of this particular ideology starts from kindergarten, K through 12, and then onwards, how does someone escape that? It sounds like to me, there's no escape.
Well, obviously, the first answer is you pull your kids. It's whatever sacrifices you have to make. Now, we understand, obviously, not every family can do it or they can't do it yet. But for all the investment people make in college, parents save for college and they go into debt in college, our position is reverse that. It's more important that you invest in your children when they're young, not wait till they're 18 when they're completely brainwashed. So if you're going to have to go in debt, if you're going to have to take out loans, instead of doing it for college, do it for K through 12 and get your kids out of these indoctrination centers. Now, if you can't, which again, I understand a lot of families cannot, and we are completely sympathetic to that, that's where Courage is a Habit comes in. We give you the tools to be able to protect your kids, to be able to get them out of some of these mental health initiatives. We have opt-out forms on courageisahabit.org. We teach you how to get them out of the data mining, the data collection, because the mental health and the data collection are the two bloodlines that feed this indoctrination. And so if enough parents, even if like 20% of parents in a school district start to opt their kids out, it's going to make the system start to kind of crumble because they don't have enough children to brainwash. They don't have the data that they're not collecting. So does it solve the problem? No, it doesn't solve the problem completely, but it certainly helps a ton in getting some of the indoctrination to slow down. And more importantly, if you cannot pull your kids, and even if you do pull your kids, it's so important for parents to get to their children first. So for example, today you and I are having a conversation about the shooter. It's so important that parents tell kids exactly who the shooter is, how he is, what his belief system is. Because if parents don't talk to their kids, I promise you the schools will lie to them. They will make the children be sympathetic to the shooter. They will make Trump the oppressor. They will make him the bad guy, even though they're trying to kill him. So parents, even if you have young children, you're thinking, oh, they're elementary school, the school's not going to talk to them about that. That is not true. Whatever big happens, you have to get to your children first, because I promise you that your schools will lie to your children about it, and they will come home having empathy for the shooter.
Okay, those are very good points, Alvin. I want to ask you this since I have you here, because, Jimmy Kimmel, he was talking about this event a couple days before. he said Melania Trump is going to be an expected widow, making very light of something very serious, you know? I mean, how does media fit into this picture? How does social media fit into this picture?
Well, media and social media, if you take away X, before Elon bought X, the media and social media is completely radically left. And they were banning for a long time. They were banning and suspending any conservative voices or even normal voices, just even middle of the road voices. And so people like Kimmel, because he's on ABC, they protect people like him because he's a propagandist. He's not a comedian. He's not the old Johnny Carson or David Letterman. He is a propagandist. So he will push any narrative that the media pushes. So Trump killing people, Trump Nazi, all these people being deported are just normal, good people. He promotes that, even if he hides it behind a little bit of humor. Now, these days, he's not even trying to pretend it's humor because they want to normalize Trump being killed. It's not just Trump. They want to normalize anybody that believes in closed borders, that anyone who wants to protect children from being trans and mutilated, anybody that believes skin color does not determine your success, anybody who doesn't want to believe, who fights against the fake climate changeism, anything like that is grounds for violence. And so people like Jimmy Kimmel is a propagandist. And so the only way that you can beat that is, again, you have to embrace exclusion. You have to remember that anything that they say you can't say, you must say it 3 times as much, because they're so afraid of people speaking up. They hate the First Amendment. They're definitely afraid of the First Amendment. And so this is why they're always manipulating language. They say, oh, you cannot say trans woman. No, you should say trans woman, not call that person a man. Say mentally ill man. Do not say undocumented migrants. Say illegal alien, violent illegal alien. Those words are very, very important because if they control language, they control thoughts. And if they can control thoughts, they can control your actions. Once they control your actions, then they control the entire culture.
All right, Alvin, let me just ask you one final thing here. President Trump is calling on Americans to resolve their differences peacefully. How do we do that?
You have to start with language. You have to start with language and you let them go nuts. You let them go crazy. Because if you try to fight on facts and logic, those conservatives will lose. You cannot fight on facts and logic because these people believe a child can be born in the wrong body. They want you to support illegal aliens until you have nothing to give to your children. You cannot talk to these people about facts and logic. So the only thing you can do as an everyday average American is, first of all, you must reject their language. You must speak the truth. And more importantly, you have to get your kids either out of the system, the school system, or you use our tools to protect them and you get really very, very much involved, offensively involved in your child's school, and stop sending your kids to college. There's no reason why to send your kids to college. You're quite literally paying $100,000, $150,000 to a system that hates you and hates America. So these are the things that every average person can do. Language, protect your kids in K through 12, stop sending your kids to college. You have to starve these systems. That's what every average American can do. And you got to make courage your habit. If you start to be afraid of what they call you, the labels, racist, bigot, all those things, then you're going to lose before you even begin.
Well, all right, Alvin, I really enjoyed this conversation. Pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you.
Great to see you, Don.
And now King Charles is landing in the U.S. for a state visit. The 4-day state visit will kick off today, with the President and First Lady having tea in the Green Room with the royals before going to a tour of the expanded White House beehive in the South Lawn. And the palace says the trip is to celebrate the historic connections and the modern bilateral relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States, marking the 250th anniversary of American independence. As we wait for the king to step out right now, he's going to actually have an address of a joint meeting of Congress tomorrow. We'll bring that to you, so stay tuned. And King Charles and Queen Camilla have just landed at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, and this marks their commencement of the state visit to mark the 250th anniversary of U.S. independence. And the British royals of course, they will be greeted at the White House by President Donald Trump. And here they are stepping out of the aircraft. And the visit comes as US-UK relations are still strong, despite the war in Iran and despite what President Trump has said of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer of not offering as much help as he wanted. But the relationship is still strong, and this visit is still very significant. And President Trump is very much anticipating the arrival of the two royals, and he is very much as well looking forward to it. Now, as you're aware, the trip is going ahead despite the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. And after the attack, President Trump said he was still looking forward to meeting with the British monarch. By to greet them is Ambassador Monica Crowley, and she is the Chief of Protocol of the United States and British Ambassador to the U.S., Christian Turner. So President Trump is hopeful that this meeting will even increase the relationship between the UK and the United States right now. On Sunday, Trump told Fox News that he was looking forward to the monarch's visit, saying, quote, "He's a great guy. We look forward to it. He's a fantastic person and a tremendous representative. He's brave." This is what Trump said to Fox News earlier. And he's a friend, of course, of President Trump for a long time. He represents his nation like nobody else can do it. This is according to the president. Before King Charles and Queen Camilla gets into the royal car, they're standing to honor the British national anthem. The motorcade is expected to take them to the planned engagement. And as the royals are getting into the motorcade, the visit once again is meant to reinforce the U.S.-UK special relationship and, of course, mark the 250th anniversary of American independence. They're going to receive a White House welcome, a state dinner, and address to Congress, and visits in New York and Virginia as well. And this planned visit is going ahead despite the shooting at a press event, press dinner, White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. And President Trump said he was still looking forward to the meeting with the British monarch. And President Trump told the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, last week that King Charles's state visit could improve the strained relationship between the U.S. and UK. And President Trump has said that the monarch is a great guy and he's looking forward to it. He's a fantastic person and a tremendous representative. And of course, they've been friends for a long time, and President Trump said he represents his nation like nobody else can do it. And as you can see, the motorcade is leaving to the destination of the engagement. We're taking a break now. When we come back, FBI Director Kash Patel, Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, and U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro holding a